Well, hello there, and welcome to
Who
Deep
are you
Dish.
talking to?
Well, I was just talking to the camera.
Oh,
I was figuring first shot,
Right,
you know.
right.
I'd be like, hey, you, hello there.
Yeah, those
Right.
people, these guys.
Yeah, it's weird because we don't have a tradition of how to start the show because this is the first episode.
You could say, hey, this is the Talkies.
But it's not the talkies.
But you could say that is what I'm saying.
Hey there, welcome to Deep Dish from Karman Studios. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
All right. So D and I are doing a new thing. We're doing a new thing.
What's your name?
I'm Kenny,
Yeah, I'm D.
and we're filmmakers.
Yeah.
And we have another show called The Talkies, where we cover movies with a couple of other filmmakers, Taylor and Maddie.
Yeah.
And we've been doing The Talkies for a long time. And across the breadth of that time, D and I specifically have had many instances of saying, I wish we were doing this Talkies thing for series
For shows.
for shows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because there's been a lot of freaking awesome shows where I felt like I've got a lot of things to say about this show.
Yeah. Well, and so both of us would talk about shows all the time, and then we would do it on Talkies before we start the show, before we start recording. And then it would just be me and you talking the whole
Yep.
time, and Taylor would be like, plebes.
I mean, honestly, shows would probably have been a part of the Talkies
It probably would
if it weren't for
that person.
someone.
Yeah, someone.
Someone who's not here today.
I don't know who you're talking about, but yeah, him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, them.
No,
That
it's a
person.
him, and it's not Maddie.
It's not right.
So you can use the process of elimination to decide who has prevented us from talking about shows.
Yeah, Jeff. It's Jeff.
Fucking Jeff. I don't think we have a Jeff, but point is, so we got a new show. We're going deep dish because we like to use we like to keep using pizza metaphors, as is our tradition on the Talkies.
That it is.
And this version of Deep Dish is completely dedicated to season 1 of Three Body Problem.
Yes, sir.
Now-
Yep.
I've been looking forward to this for a long time because it was the very first thing announced as to Dan and Dave's
Right.
follow-up
Right.
to Game of Thrones.
And I'm not sure how long you and I should talk about Game of Thrones because we'll get into a fit. But yeah, Game of Thrones was amazing in the beginning, and that's all I'll say about it. It left a bad taste in our mouth afterwards, but
Yeah.
we liked Dan and Dave for what they were doing production-wise on the show. And so, yeah, when you talked about Three Body Problem being a sci-fi that they were doing, I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
definitely interested.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing that I'll say from the Game of Thrones experience was just how obvious it was that Dan and Dave were phenomenal at creating a production around adapted material.
Right. Adapted. Yeah. Something that was already written.
Something that was already written.
Right.
And if you just look at the seasons of Game of Thrones and say, which are the ones that aren't as good as the others, it's the ones that books had not been written yet.
Right. Right.
They
And
really
yeah,
had to kind of figure it out on their own.
You can tell.
Huge change.
Yeah. Everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah. With that in mind, that was actually one of the things that caught my attention going into this one was I figured I should read the book first, but I didn't. I have this thing about movies and stuff when movies are adapted from books that I like to watch the movie first.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why do you do it?
Well, book purists disagree with me all the time.
Yeah.
And I tell them, look, because of the nature of adaptation, you have to omit things.
Yeah.
When you turn a book into a movie.
Yeah.
There's a whole and actually it helps the movie to omit things.
Right.
Because in a film experience, there are things that you have to infer about what's going on in a character's mind.
Yeah.
Whereas in a book, you can actually just read what's going on in a character's mind.
Right.
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 And so it's fundamentally different medium, and so that's okay that you lose things in adapting it to a film. So the reason why I like to see the film first is because the book adds to it.
Right.
Right.
That's exactly. Yeah.
Especially if it's a good adaptation like
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings. If you did not read Lord of the Rings, you watch the movies first and you like the movies, it feels like you're seeing the best extended edition ever.
Right.
When you read the books.
Yeah, and so that's how I feel when I'm like The Martian, for example. Like I thought it was a pretty cool movie. And
Decent movie, yeah.
Yeah, and then it made me want to check out the book, and I was like, wow, this is way cool. Like there's way more stuff in here, and it's definitely, like you said, it's like an extended, it's like a DLC.
Yeah.
I got a DLC.
Yep.
So, yeah. So that was the same thing with this show, with Three Body Problem.
That being said, I will say reading the Three Body Problem is not easy.
No.
That is a challenging book.
Yeah. It's also very heavily Chinese, like in the culture of China.
Right.
Of China.
Just the way it's written.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And some of the words that they use, like, I mean, I haven't read much, but I know the beginning of it uses the term reactionary a whole lot, and reactionary is a term that kind of means capitalist American way of living, westernized, but you don't know that reading it. And I feel like that's a lot of what the language they're using in that, especially since they focus on characters that are from China and about Chinese culture. Yeah.
I've had a hard time reading the books. I got like 2/3 through the first one and then kind of just gave up and deep dived into a bunch of YouTube videos to fill in everything I wanted to know about Three Body Problem. Right, so I know the whole story from beginning to end across all the books.
Yeah.
But it was from watching YouTube videos of people talking about the books.
Sure.
Because it honestly, I just might not be intelligent enough. You know?
It's just dense.
I mean,
you and we talk about sci-fi all the time, and you talk about books that you've read. That have that stuff in it. Like Project Hail Mary was one that you.
I loved it. I loved the Expanse series as well from. James S.A. Corey.
Yeah.
But Three Body Problem is a whole nother level.
Yeah, I guess
of like expectation on the reader.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I haven't got to that part yet, so maybe I'll leave at the same time that you did.
Yeah, or you're just smarter than me.
That's probably what it is.
Very likely.
It's probably because I'm
very
smarter.
Likely.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
All right. So it's been exciting to wait for this to finally happen.
Yeah. I was really happy when you told me that this book, this acclaimed book, was being run by these guys.
And not to mention a book series that had been completed already.
Right. Key.
Very important.
Key information there.
It has an ending already in.
Right.
And I think in the space of time in between them announcing that they were going to do the Three Body Problem, and it actually coming out, there have been several Dan and Dave projects that have been greenlit and redlit in that gap.
Right. Yeah, they were doing
Star Wars.
I was going to say, they did Star Wars. Yeah. Which is interesting. I would be interested to see. I'm not going to go too far into this, but the Star Wars stuff, were they adapting from something, or was it just...
I don't know. They could have. I mean, there are books out there.
Shit, actually, I have a tidbit of information about this.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. When they said that their script was called The First Jedi. And
really?
And that's what it was about.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and they said that one of the key reasons... Can you imagine what one of the key reasons was?
A book was written?
No. Stupider. Much stupider.
What?
Rian Johnson came out with The Last Jedi.
Oh, God.
So
we don't need to spend time talking about what a fucking mess Star Wars is now.
So the first Jedi, they're like, well, we can't do it now. I imagine that's probably not a key factor, but they made it sound like it was pretty important.
Okay.
Anyway, let's get into Three Body Problem.
Yes. Because if you're listening, that's probably why you're here.
the first episode.
Episode 1.
Yeah.
Yes. So the first episode was called The Countdown.
Right.
Or just Countdown.
Something like that.
Something like that. All right.
Had Countdown in the title.
So the season starts off with us in 1966,
Beijing,
China.
Yeah.
Yep. And a revolution is going on. we've got this crazy enthusiastic crowd.
Yeah.
And they're dragging out like professors in a dunce hat.
Right. Yeah.
And
big ass dunce hats. Yeah.
In front of the crowd. The first guy dragged out basically is like ready to just like, I don't want to die. I'll tell you whatever I want.
Yeah.
And he says, I think he says
rehabilitate me.
Rehabilitate me.
Yeah,
yes. Yeah. And I guess that means
I don't know.
They're willing to comply.
Yeah, I guess
whatever their demands are.
Yeah, this scene was really weird to me. I don't want to talk about. I don't want to go back to the book because the book explains it. I don't want to talk about that
because we're here to talk about a show.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. In this part of the stage and everything, I thought it was a really cool idea. But when I first watched this part, I still, and I understand it now, but I did not understand what was happening.
Yeah.
Like you said, they were bringing out like academics or something.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand why they were important. Like what was happening.
Yeah. It kind of left me a little bit wishing there was like a prequel.
Right.
To give me some context for this revolution.
Yeah.
Because as they read out the sort of charges against this guy who was Wenjie's father.
That was her father. Yeah.
Yeah. It's her dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard for me to understand exactly what they're revolting against,
right,
in the revolution,
right?
Because like they're upset with him because he's teaching relativity, and other traditional physics stuff, Big Bang, right. He's teaching the Big Bang and relativity, and then they're like, we should kill him because that leaves room for believing in God. right? And so I'm like, wait, are they like claiming scientists are pro-religion? Like, are we anti-religion or anti-science?
Right.
You know? So it's confusing in that sense. So I did want to know more.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, I realized it didn't matter that I know more.
It didn't matter. And to be honest, I think after watching because you and I have watched the whole series, but I don't think this scene, I don't think really matters that much in setting up the rest of this specific series.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. So at a certain point, you kind of realize that and you let go. And so it doesn't really matter that they didn't explain it. But at the same time, I kind of feel like the scene could have had more impact.
Yeah.
If we got what this revolution was about.
Yeah, more stuff about it.
I mean, they beat her father to death. Not only that, her mother comes on the stage and turns on her husband in front of everyone.
Yeah.
And is basically like complicit in his death.
Yeah.
So it's extreme.
It is. It's very, And one of when I first saw that scene, it was strange at the end of it because the girl who's on stage who's trying to, who's smacks the dad and he falls down. I don't even know if he falls down, but he like limps anyway. But they begin all beating him together. Just it looks like out of anger, and then they realize he's dead at the end, and she like reacts like, "Oops."
Right? Yeah, it went a little too far.
Yeah,
that was weird because it feels like they're like, well, he's not agreeing to be rehabilitated, so we're going to kill him,
right?
Because that's what the crowd wants,
apparently.
And then they're like, "Oh, oops, we killed him." Shoot, So I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. I don't think the scene worked perfectly. But it also didn't matter that much.
So yeah, I think that tells me the flavor of a lot of what's happening. I think as we go forward, is that there's some good adaptation being done here, but the adaptation I think is in different spots and weird spots. It's probably the most interesting as far as adaptation goes for me, just because I've read the book. It feels that way to me. It feels weird that they chose to adapt the parts that they did in that first part and why they even included it in the first place.
So the thing that Dee and I are trying to avoid doing is making this all about like, well, the book said this.
Exactly.
Because we're here to talk about a show.
The show, right. But the thing is that the show, I think, misses things.
Well, yeah, I know, but that's the point exactly is that adaptation is a part of filmmaking.
Right.
And Dan and Dave, their wheelhouse supposedly is adaptation.
Yeah.
Right? And any great filmmaker out there may be called upon for adaptation at some point. So it is relevant as a filmmaking conversation.
Well, and especially since, I mean, like lately, there's been a ton of adaptation, like Dune and fucking, well, a lot of things that I can't think of, but yeah.
So fuck it. Let's just say in the book, this scene is a lot more intense and disturbing.
It is
actually.
It's way more disturbing. Yeah. It's and it does something I think interesting that tells you about the culture and the time. That specifically, we're like the revolutionaries here are so. What's the word? I want to say reactionary. That's funny. Mm-hmm. They're so high. That's what it was. Yeah. The point of the book was showing, at least in this scene, was showing that they're so high on this idea that they're revolting against something and they're thus impervious. And the very first scene has a girl die because of that thought. And they don't have that in this show. Right.
They changed it to Wenjie's father.
Right.
Who does die.
But in the book. Yeah, but not because the other people are high.
And not in this scene.
Yeah.
It's a totally different scene.
Right.
Yeah. It's a girl who gets thrown from a balcony and gets like impaled on the spikes of a fence.
And then
people start shooting up the body and shit. Like it's really messed up.
Yeah. And it's there to show, I think it's there to show how, well, not just how messed up it is, but just how in her mind she was impervious. Right. Yeah. She did not care so much because she was so much into this revolution that, I'm basically invincible at this point. And she goes up top to wave her flag and gets shot because of that. And I think that's interesting. That's something that they didn't cover. So
and it also kind of it says something interesting about like runaway fanaticism.
Right.
Right. And not to get too spoilerish, but later on, we get into this place where an invading alien species is kind of afraid of.
There's aliens in this
of humankind, right?
Yeah.
And this is really like foreshadowing that humans maybe should be frightening,
right,
to a more enlightened species.
Yeah.
To see the kind of things we are capable of.
Yeah. And I wonder if like this, because I heard that there was some reactions to this to the whole show, but I think it's for the first scene, specifically in China when this unleashed in China, and I was kind of weirded out because I'm just like, okay, well the book's been everywhere in China, but whatever. But I think it's because in this scene, for those who haven't read the book, it really seems like it's just picking on one group of people. And that they're saying these people are fucking bad. These are bad people, and they're against science. And how fucked up is that, right? And they kill a scientist on stage in front of everybody. And that's not what this is about. I feel like this is about humanity, like you said.
Right.
Humanity is dangerous, not good versus evil.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. Because again, not to be spoilerish, but in the future we're going to see this character make choices.
Right.
That are based on her believing now that humanity is not redeemable.
Exactly. Yeah. Humanity as a whole.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what this scene is supposed to set up.
Yeah.
Humanity is not redeemable. It is deplorable. And we would be better served to be saved from an external source.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I guess our point is that they could have done that better.
They could have done that better. Yeah. That's the whole idea here. Yeah.
In terms of like scope though, and the way it was shot and everything, it was it was a pretty freaking cool scene.
It was really great. Yeah. In fact, even the gore I thought was done really, really well.
Oh, it felt very real.
Yeah.
It felt very real. Yeah. It wasn't exaggerated and it wasn't underplayed either.
Right. They were good at that. They're good at that, I think.
Yes, they are good at that. They did that in Game of Thrones too.
Yeah. Where they chose to hold back at some points and push in on
just like, that's a person being physically beat to death with hands.
Right.
You.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, cool. Well, let's move forward. All right, so we move from 1966 China to some cop who happens to be the guy from Doctor Strange.
Benedict Wong,
who's maybe the best actor in the show.
I think he is.
He's really good, man. Yeah. I loved watching him the whole the whole show.
Yeah, it's so funny because I think of what's his name from the Batman who we were talking about. Holy shit, that guy.
Yeah, what's his name?
Jeffrey Wright.
Jeffrey Wright.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
God damn.
Yeah, so Jeffrey Wright, I keep thinking about him being the Benedict Wong guy in here. And but it makes me think about who else could have played this.
Right.
And other people could have, but I thought Benedict Wong, I think, has some texture to the character, to an otherwise pretty flat character, you know?
Yeah. I loved how like kind of like deplorable and pathetic he was as a human being, yet while still being so efficient at his job.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of the dude in Memories of Murder.
Oh, I honestly like did a double take for a second, or I was like, wait a minute, was he in Memories of Murder? Like I actually thought that
he plays a very similar role. That's funny.
Yeah. So he's fantastic.
Yeah, he's good.
And in this scene, he's investigating murder. There is a countdown drawn on the wall, apparently in blood, which sounds very difficult.
It also sounds...
I don't know how to pull that off.
I was going to say it sounds very, what's the word? Done. It's tropey at this point.
Yes, it is tropey.
Yeah.
The countdown ends with him saying, "I can still see it."
Right.
And then they roll him over to show his eyes have been gouged out.
That is the most interesting part, yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
Because it tells us that it's in his head, right? Whatever this force is, it's infected his brain, has nothing to do with his eyes. It also makes me wonder, how did he write "I can still see it" so clearly with his eyes gouged out? But we're just going to...
Oh, wait, okay. So actually, I have a different view on this then.
You think he wrote that before he gouged his eyes out?
Well, I do, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's interesting, though.
Yeah.
But, like, if he was...
Because in my mind, it was like, I can't stop seeing this. I gouge out my eyes, and it's like, fuck, I can still see it.
That's terrifying. If that's what it is, yeah. But then how the fuck
But
would
then he
write?
writes it very well without vision, which I suppose is possible. I mean, I could write with my eyes shut, I guess, but just saying.
Yeah. Anyway.
And they seem to, in the scene, they infer that there's been other murders or deaths like this.
Right.
And they're all scientists. That's pretty much all they say at that point.
I think that's pretty much it, yeah.
Okay.
Anything
else to say?
Not really.
Not really. Move on.
No.
Okay. So we move to Oxford. It's a big old Hadron Collider. We meet Saul, who at this point we just gather is very cool and smart. That is Saul's character.
Is he cool?
I'm the cool, smart guy. And Vera Ye.
Yeah, I think it's Ye.
Shows up and talks to him about how the place is being shut down.
Yeah.
Because science doesn't work anymore.
Apparently.
I wonder. It makes me wonder
science doesn't work yet.
How long this has been happening.
Yeah.
For like whoever funds the Hadron Collider to be like, we're shutting you down.
So,
because it feels like that would have to be like a year or more. Of bad results.
Right. Yeah. In this part, but when they're talking about this immediately caught my attention because I thought it was so interesting that they're showing an image on the screen from particle accelerating, and then saying that it doesn't work, saying that that's bad.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow, whoa.
This disproves everything we know about science.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, cool. So they're going to explain it, and they never do. And I don't know if they do it in the book, but like that left me wanting quite a bit.
Yeah. It's the biggest complaint I think I have about the show.
Yeah. Is that they don't go into the science?
From episode 1 through the end.
Yeah.
Is that there's a lot. They just say a thing is the way it is and don't really dive in.
Right. In fact, there's a scene after this that we'll talk about that has to do with that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Vera asks Saul if he believes in God, and he says no, and then she kills herself.
Right.
I forget the name of the tank she jumps into. It's a something tank.
Yeah, I forgot what it was.
Some like German name or Russian name or something.
Is it for cooling the accelerator?
It's
or is
something
it part of the accelerator?
Specific to that kind of technology. Yeah. I looked it up and I don't remember. But there was one in fucking Devs.
Oh, was there?
Remember Devs?
Yeah.
It had the same thing in it.
Okay.
Big old huge room with whatever that was on the walls and water on the bottom.
Right.
And, yeah.
The dialogue between Saul and Vera here I thought was weird because it was expository to me. When I think about maybe this is just a writing thing, but when I think about like Game of Thrones, I thought about some of the opening scenes were incredible, where they're talking and you can just tell what's happening because of their words to each other. They're never really just saying out loud what's happening at the moment. But Saul here like says a quote by, I guess, Richard Feynman, but he's saying it as if Vera doesn't know that science is broken, and he's talking to the audience, and I really picked up on that.
It's the biggest challenge, I think, in the first act of any movie, or the first episode of any series,
to lay the groundwork. Right,
you got to lay the groundwork. There's a lot of information you got to get to the audience, and yet you have to get the characters speaking to each other as though they're not relaying info to an audience.
And that's a hard thing with adaptation.
Yeah.
In fact, Blade Runner is a really good example of this.
Of doing it right?
Of doing it wrong.
Oh.
The narration in one of the cuts, I think it was a theatrical
original
cut.
Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Original.
There's so many cuts.
Original before it was chopped up.
Before it was chopped, yeah.
Yeah.
The executive version, I guess you could say.
So Vera, kills herself. She, it's worth pointing out, I think, that when she hits the bottom of that drop, it very much looks like she's jumping into like 3 inches of water. It looks like she was killed by an extreme impact.
Even if it wasn't shallow, the idea that you're jumping off into water, is that
surface tension of the water
will kill you.
This is foreshadowing for something later in the episode. But just saying, I feel like her body would be a bit messed up.
Pretty effed up. I would agree.
Yep. Okay,
moving on.
So we can move forward. So
the bar.
Now we get to meet Jin and Auggie.
Yeah.
Which are the two of the two main characters of the show.
I want to talk about specifically something in the bar.
Okay.
And it was when they start talking, because they're both physicists to some degree, they both talk, and I'm just like, oh, awesome. We get to figure out, or we get to see what broke, right? Why the science is all effed up. Because Auggie says to Jin, so what had happened? What happened here? And Jin starts to explain it, and they get interrupted by some dude.
Yeah.
And they do this
karaoke douchebag.
Karaoke douchebag. They do this to specifically give this kind of girl power moment, which I love, where they say their jobs, and he's like completely taken aback. Yeah. And so I love that part.
I did too.
But then they don't continue with the conversation, and that really angers me.
Oh, that they just let it go? That science is broken?
Yeah, I mean, because
that's a good point.
Later on, Jin shows her phone. And like from the phone, Augie's like, that's crazy. I'm just like, okay, but then why is it crazy? Tell me why. Yeah. But that's because I'm a sci-fi nerd. I mean, that's the reason why I was interested.
No, a constant complaint I'm going to have about this show probably over and over again. I don't know. I don't have a great explanation as to why, but they gave great dialogue to Jin to verify that she's a genius who cares deeply about science.
Right.
And they did not give it to Auggie.
Yeah. Auggie plays a different character, I think.
But it's hard to buy her as legit. Like, I don't think that is necessarily bad casting. I think they wrote her character a little wrong, because I buy Jin as a very intelligent, passionate scientist.
Yeah.
And supposedly Auggie is someone who creates this nanofiber technology that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
And she doesn't seem to care about it at all.
Yeah, I think it's because this is part of the adaptation thing. I think it's because her nanofiber company or whatever that we'll see later on doesn't play that big of a role in the entire thing that's happening here.
Right.
But Jin's does, which is because she works as a particle physicist or something.
Yeah.
And so I think it's
it's just the way Jin talks about science.
Yeah.
And the way that Auggie never does.
True. And you know what's interesting about that is in episode 2. So, yeah.
Yeah, we know. We can't jump ahead too much. But yeah, it feels like Auggie basically talks like the show's pretty girl.
Yeah.
And not a scientist.
Yeah. And I think that's probably what makes me not like her so much in this series, in the whole series. Yeah. And it's not necessarily because she doesn't talk about it all the time, but it's because the contrast that she's having with Jin. Because so Jin is like popping pills, as we see in this episode later on. And with Auggie, she blows up because of something else that happens. And Auggie gets this thing where she keeps getting to this idea of where she's mad about other things that are happening, but it feels like they're so mundane compared to everything else that it seems like she's just a mad girl throughout the whole thing. I'm just like, do something interesting. Yeah. Instead of just get mad at people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of her thing. She's just mad.
Unfortunately, that's what the character is.
Yeah. She ends up kind of one note, but we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
Then Saul calls them, one of them each at a time. And clearly Saul's calling to tell them about the suicide. Auggie starts to see a countdown.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something about the countdown. What did you think about it?
At first, I thought it was a cheesy effect. I got into it later, though.
Yeah.
But it sort of grew on me aesthetically.
Yeah.
But when I first saw it, I kind of felt like, this is like some DC Comics nonsense.
That's kind of how I felt.
Yeah.
The first time seeing it.
I didn't like it at first.
Yeah. And like you said, I get more into it later also. But I thought it was really interesting because it's hard, I think, to show a character's perspective from a second person view all the time, right? Or third person, I guess. When in film, like, I'm showing me right now, but you can't see what I'm seeing,
right?
Unless it's a point of view shot.
Yeah. And
so that's all they can do is cut to POV to when she's looking at this illusion or the countdown or whatever. And they don't do that all the time because the movie's a movie or the show's a show. It's not about her perspective. And so it's weird to see her in other scenes and you just don't know that this is always happening.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a strange problem to have.
It's also, I think, the only times in the whole show where we ever go to a direct POV shot.
You mean in this episode?
I think in the whole show.
There's another scene later on where she's in the train.
No. My point is the only POV shots of the entire season are Auggie seeing the countdown.
Of the countdown, yeah.
Except for there's another time where another person sees a countdown for a future episode. But yeah, that's it.
But that's the only POV.
So that makes it a little less than organic feeling. That's all.
That's actually, it's interesting that you say that because when they had douchebag guy who's doing the karaoke
douchebag.
Yeah. They cut to a shot.
That guy was perfectly cast, by the way.
Oh, no, it was great.
Perfectly cast.
I thought he was he's a good douchebag.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, good douchebag.
He's typecast now.
He's good.
Karaoke
You're
douchebag.
the douchebag in 3 Body Problem. Yeah. That's me. That's what I did. They cut to a shot of the lyrics on the screen.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wow, like, what's that?
Yeah, because she starts to see
right
vibrating lines.
But why cut to the lyrics?
Yeah, I know, it was weird, right? Because it was suggesting it had something to do with the monitor or something.
Right.
But then she sees it just floating in the air.
Right. I
don't know.
Yeah, I'm saying from a filmmaking perspective, it's really strange to cut to something irrelevant first and then lead into something that's more relevant.
Right.
Yeah. Because we understand why there's a part of the fucking countdown that's fucking crazy, but why is she looking at the lyrics?
Right, yeah.
And the answer is because we needed a backdrop.
Well, it feels like they're suggesting that it has something to do with digital screens. Because she sees it on her phone, too.
She does, yeah.
Right? First it's the karaoke screen, then it's her phone, and then she sees it in the air.
Yeah.
And so you end with seeing it in the air, and you're like, well, what was the relevance of the screens?
Yeah.
So it's actually in her head. It's not on the screen.
Right. I think it should.
Maybe it's a misdirect.
It should have a narrative. The edit itself, I think, should have a narrative motivation. That's all.
Well, that makes sense. Yes.
And like look at the screen because he got the lyrics wrong, right? That would make more sense. Mm-hmm. That's what I thought they were doing in the first place, but they weren't. So it bugs me.
Yeah. Good point. You're right.
Thank you.
You're actually right about that.
I'm right about that.
Yep. Okay. All right. She sees a countdown. So now we go to our favorite cop who's looking at his corkboard, which was kind of a cool way to give a little bit of character background on our main characters.
Yeah.
You know, he's got all the who's who in particle physics.
Yeah.
Because they're expecting these might be the next people who die.
Yeah, I like that actually, where they cross her out, which was weird, but he crosses her out, and then we zoom out to see all these other people.
And we learned some things. We learned we're going to meet Will.
Yeah, that's visual storytelling. Good stuff.
And it's the only place where we're told explicitly that what's his name, Samuel Tarly from Game of Thrones,
is a scientist.
It was a scientist who dropped out of school and started a fucking potato chips company.
Right. Yeah, they talk about it elsewhere, but
worth $9 million or something.
90 million pounds.
Yes.
Yeah, but they talk about it later, but it is just a blip. It's just small. Yeah. They really should have concentrated on that a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know.
But it was cool. I thought that was cool visual storytelling.
Yeah, I like that. I like that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jack and Will intro in the bathroom.
Mm-hmm. So we finally meet Will and Jack in the flesh. They're in the bathroom. The first shot is of a little like welcome card of remembering Vera.
Yeah.
So we immediately know we're at the funeral, even though we haven't seen anything else to tell us we're at the funeral.
Lovely.
We see two characters who we haven't met before, but they are in what's clearly a public restroom sort of place. You know, a men's room. They're fixing their ties. They're wearing black suits. And we go, okay, these are people connected to Vera and this story. And they're at the funeral.
And you know, like, probably, or at least you can guess, that they're somehow going to know Jin and the other people that we've seen.
Yeah.
Because
the previous shot.
Yeah. And it has nothing. I just love talking about how, you know, amateur filmmakers, as we've been before, you know, but we still are, I guess. We'll have scenes where people come in and they just say, "Hey, sis," you know, or "Hi, Dad."
Yes.
You know, it's that kind of thing. But in here, they don't have to say, you know, "Hi, Jin," that I know from the particle physics. It's just, you know, we know from relationship status. I like that. That's really cool.
So it did establish a lot. I think it was in this scene I think they start from this scene talking about Will being in love with Jin.
They do, yeah. He like Jack makes fun of him or something.
Yeah.
And then, oh man, I love the introduction of Jack's snacks where he says it covers the tequila smell.
Yes, yeah.
That was good.
Yeah. It actually took till my second viewing of the episode to see how much of his dialogue was actually centered around eating snacks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't quite pick it up the first time through. So that was funny.
I thought it was so contrasted because it was so funny because this whole thing's about science. He's talking about fucking chips and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. But I love that it's just a shot of Will still getting, you know, ready. And then like, what's the dude's name? Jack? Samuel. I'm going to call him. Yeah.
He will forever be Samuel Tarly.
He's Samuel Tarly. But he takes out this chip bag, you know, and it goes, he starts eating chips.
Where most like emotionally damaged people would keep a flask of whiskey.
Right.
He has a bag of potato chips.
Which he does actually pull out the whiskey.
He has that
first.
Too.
Yeah. It tells you everything you need to know about him.
That is everything you need to know about Jack. That and that he's worth $90 million.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah. Right. That's so good.
So that was a cool scene.
Yeah.
Well done. And then we go actually into the funeral.
Outside the funeral.
No, outside the funeral. That's right. Yeah. Saul rides up on his bicycle.
Yeah.
You got Jin and her boyfriend, who is just like the most impressive human ever to exist. That's who her boyfriend is.
Tall, freaking physiqued out, has like, you know, dark skin, has a really nice beard and everything.
It's very clearly like a decorated, respected military official. Like just the most... Like, so to have the character Will being the in love friend but never anything more character, making this her boyfriend is
Yeah.
like the ultimate foil
Yeah.
to everything he is.
It's great.
you know?
Yeah, I really like that.
No, it's good. It's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, it's funny.
And I think that came from Dan and Dave. That's not something.
No, it
in
must
the books,
have. No, this whole thing, I think a lot of it is.
Yeah.
I don't know if the whole book like revolves around like a group of friends or whatever, but I do know that they're talking about in the show how they did. It's not in China anymore, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. In
And
London,
then
mostly.
I love Saul pulls up in his bicycle, and Jen just goes like, "Fucking Saul." You know,
Yeah.
like that became a character development piece.
Oh yeah.
Beyond anything that had been done before for Saul.
Yeah.
Was just him rolling up on a bicycle and her going, "Fucking Saul."
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, of course you're going to ride up on a bicycle, you fucking weirdo.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
she's like, she fixes his tie out of like exasperation also. Mm-hmm. This is really where they shine, Dan and Dave, like with this kind of small character moments of like relationships and stuff.
Sure.
I think it's, or at least introduction, I guess is what I mean. Like visuals, using visual storytelling beyond the obvious.
No, I definitely get behind that.
Yeah.
I'd say with Game of Thrones, I have watched season 1 more than any other.
Right.
And therefore, obviously, episode 1 of season 1 way more than any other.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And like just thinking back to like the first time you meet Arya
Oh yeah.
or Jon Snow.
No, yeah. That's the part that I always come back to is the Arya one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really good.
You get so much of the character in so little information.
That's so good. That's good stuff. That's not. Well, that's weird because I'm not sure if that's adapting material or if that's just their style.
I think it is them. I think
Yeah.
that is them because it's so much easier to give character development in a book. I really, there might be authors
sure.
listening who will hate me for saying that, but I think it really is because
you can just write their thoughts.
you can just write what's going on in their freaking head. You
Yeah.
can tell the audience about their backstory, and you know, it's very different to trying to do it with 30 seconds of time.
Right. No. Yeah. A lot of assumptions need to be made and jumps and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk about that just really quick. The Saul and Jin, when Jin is doing his tie, I just looked this up last night because I thought it was kind of strange. Saul has this, I guess he just pulls quotes from people. That's just one of his things. I don't know. But he pulled a quote from, I forgot. Okay. Anyway, but while she's fixing his tie, he pulls a quote from some famous scientist saying that, oh yeah, he also thought that atoms were like knots in the ether or something like that. He says it as like it's justification for him being messy. He's like, it's fine, right? And then he says, and also he thought, and then he goes into another quote, but before he can finish, Jen like racks the tie really hard on his neck, right?
Chokes him out.
Yeah. And I was wondering if that's him, like if that meant anything. I'm trying to read a little too much into it, I know, but that there
Not
was
entirely, because that's Jen saying, I don't need to hear you do this again because you're deflecting.
well. So is that what it is? You know, because
you know.
there's an obvious direction there, like the director said.
And they've been around each other for a long time. They know each other's cues and signals. And
Yeah.
No,
I
it said
didn't
a
know.
lot.
I didn't know why she was doing it. If she was cutting him off because what he was going to say was going to be rude, or if he was just going on and on.
Yeah, or deflecting from the actual like real emotional import of this moment.
Maybe.
It's like we're about
Yeah.
to go in to say goodbye to the person who like taught us everything.
Right. It would make more sense to me if that happened in the place, not while they're just still meeting, or not, or you know, she's introducing him to a boyfriend and whatnot.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. I
Maybe
thought that was
so.
weird.
Maybe so. Yep.
Oh, we cut to Auggie.
Yeah, they mentioned that Auggie isn't there yet. We see Auggie on the train, and this scene is basically just to reinforce that Auggie sees the countdown all the time.
Right. And this is the scene that they used in the trailer that actually made me think it was cheesy. Yeah. And it's because of that POV thing that I said. Like, in the trailer, I thought it was just literally just a shot. I didn't think it was... I guess she was seeing it in the air is what I thought. Yeah. And not in her eyes, not in her freaking irises.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And that's in a movie poster. Mm-hmm. Like the movie poster for this has the countdown in their eyelids. And I'm like, that is what I need to see. Like every time that we cut back to her, show the numbers like in her eyes. Like I want to I want to feel what she's feeling, which is insane. You're feeling insane right now.
Yeah, that's true. I never quite got there with her.
Yeah,
that's true.
She sounds like she's just fed up, and I'm like, no, that's the thing with all kinds of filmmaking styles is the idea of putting emotion on the screen, and that's one thing I think lacks a lot in here is I don't feel a whole lot of what the characters are doing or feeling at times. Will I can, but it's because Will is. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah,
Will has
can't
a whole
wait
thing.
to get to Will.
Yeah, but I don't understand it. I want to see the numbers in her eyes. I want to see that.
Sure. Yeah. You mentioning the trailer brought this back to my mind. I think I said this to you. We were like, "Hey, have you watched Three Body Problem?" And I was like, "I saw the trailer, and it just kind of reminds me of Sense8."
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Which, if you're listening, from our point of view, that's not a compliment.
It's not a good thing.
It's not a good thing.
No.
Yeah. It had a very Sense8 vibe in the trailer, which made me kind of worried. Like, I don't know if this is going to be good at all.
Right.
It's much better than Sense8. I think that's sorry, spoiler. I think it's better than Sense8, having seen the whole series.
Yeah.
But I do get the sense like there are scenes that just real intention and thought and artistry was just really poured into, and scenes where no one cared.
Yeah.
That's there's a little bit of a disjointment in this first season anyway, where I felt that over and over again, where there were scenes that just kind of felt very mechanical, which is how I describe Sense8. Sense8 felt like
mechanical.
Yeah, it felt like the Wachowskis stepped out of the way and asked an AI to analyze the Wachowskis and print a series based on them. That's what it felt like to me. Sorry. If I ever meet the two of you Wachowskis, I think you're both lovely and brilliant, and I want to be friends, but Sense8, no good.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'd agree there. Yeah, I think there's a big disconnect with with that countdown, and I do think it's very, like you said, mechanical.
Yee.
Yeah.
Yee. Okay, so
funeral.
Now we're into the actual funeral, and let's see. We have a character who we don't know who it is at this point, so I won't say who it is.
Old man character.
Some old man character comes up to dead Vera in her casket, who, by the way, looks very not pulverized. Her body looks pristine.
Right.
I'm just saying, from the jump she took, I feel like this would be a closed casket funeral.
100%. Yeah.
She looks great in her casket. So, hey, kudos to the funeral home. It's all makeup. It's all makeup.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, her face is literally pulverized.
They reconstructed it.
Just with makeup.
Oh, yeah.
It's like 3 inches
3D printing
thick of makeup. Yeah, 3D printer. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
Sure, yeah. They 3D printed her skull back.
Somehow she looks amazing in the casket. We don't care. That's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But random old guy who has no significance to the story yet takes a long time looking at her in the casket. We have a couple sequences of what we'll call the group of friends,
right,
chatting about what's going on with each other. And
yeah, one of the things I think that's most important is that Jin asks Auggie if she went to the neurologist, and Auggie says yeah, and it's really glazed over, which I think is fine. That's totally cool. But the idea that the first thing that I thought about, if you're seeing numbers in your fucking mind all the time, that you want to get it checked out. And she did, and nothing.
And they're like, nah, you're fine.
They're fine, yeah. So that's interesting. I still wish it was more emotional, though. I wish we had seen like a scene of her at the neurologist. And the neurologist is like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And hitting close to home.
Yeah.
American healthcare.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
You could do that, yeah.
Yeah, you're like, hey, man, I think I have cancer. And
actually,
they're
this is
like,
in
I
London.
doubt it.
This is in London, though.
I know. They have good healthcare.
Right. So there you go.
Yeah. What the hell? Anyway,
we have Jack making a great comment about he's like, so there's Jin, she's looking good, and then Will's like really uncomfortable, and then Jack's like, and there's Jin's boyfriend, he's looking good too.
Yeah, he's looking really good.
Like, really good,
like better than you, man. Yeah, love Jack.
Yeah,
Jack's there to say all the things that need to be said.
Yeah, he's great.
And that put it out into the known space that Will's thing is that she's the one that got away.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, so that's good.
Next we go to cop pictures.
Yeah, funeral ends. Our favorite cop is in a car taking pictures of everybody there. He notices someone who he doesn't know.
Yeah.
An old dude.
Some old dude.
He goes, wait, who's that? I got to follow him.
Yeah.
Follows him out to some field where he gets into an expensive helicopter and flies away.
Yeah. You know what's weird? That I never even got a second thought for that when I looked at that. I didn't think that was weird. It's obviously weird, but I don't know why I wasn't paying attention to it.
Sure, I guess not many people drive off of the highway into a field and get picked up by a helicopter.
Right. Well, the fact that the cop is following him, has a significance, but yeah, I never cared. I'm not sure why.
Yeah. Well, I guess he picked up on basically that I have my corkboard of all these people involved, and who's this guy? He's not on my corkboard.
Yeah.
Follows him and then finds out, he's related to Evans Energy, which is like some big energy company.
That's the name of the dude. Okay. See, yeah.
Because it said it on the helicopter, Evans Energy.
Right. Yeah, I was wondering. I was like, what was the point of the logo? But that makes sense.
Yeah.
Evans.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's like the first clue of who they're dealing with.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, Evans flies away in his helicopter.
Because he's sick.
And now we got our the main cast is out for drinks.
That's right, the Friends the show.
Yeah, this is the Friends episode or the How I Met Your Mother episode. They're at the bar chit-chatting.
Just chit-chatting. Mm-hmm. We get tidbits about the different characters and whatnot.
Yeah, it's just a character development scene.
Yeah.
And really, it's all kind of a vehicle to drive Auggie outside. That's what I think.
Yeah,
right.
No, I would agree there. Jack there's a tidbit I think in there about Jack and his, like, because he has a chip company and people talk about how Jack Snacks is a stupid name, or at least Jen says it. But it's after he says that Augie's thing is stupid, the name for her thing. But yeah, it's just a vehicle.
Yeah,
there's not much happening here.
It's all about driving Auggie outside so she can have the thing happen.
Dude, now that you say that, that makes me feel more validated about not liking Auggie. Because when she's here, she just gets pissed off and says, Jack, if you don't shut up, I'm going to punch a fucking hole through your head.
Yeah. Yeah, she's intense. Yeah. God damn.
Yeah. And everybody was like, they stopped talking at that point.
Scary Auggie.
Yeah. They obviously, she said something that they didn't expect. Mm-hmm. But that's where it just brought out, you're just a mean person in my mind. Because again, there's that disconnect that she's even a scientist.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So then she goes outside, like you said, because that's what this is for.
Yeah. Yeah. So Auggie heads outside to smoke. She can't light her cigarette. And random girl shows up. As
movies do. No one's lighter ever works in movies.
Hey there. I've got a lighter. Right?
That's how you meet people.
Mm-hmm. So her cigarettes gets lit by mysterious girl who, after some low-level banter, gets to the point of, you're watching a countdown in your head, aren't you?
On the second watch through, this is weird. Of her like hinting.
The progression of their conversation?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. On the first watch through, I think it was perfect. Yeah. On the second watch through, it made me think, okay, well, I know who she is now. And that she's coming in and she's just... She just doesn't say anything about the countdown until and she's just like, it's hard, isn't it? Just like, why don't you just say what you're saying?
I don't know. She's a weird character.
It's a weird moment.
There's a couple points in the show where I feel like she's way too over the top.
Yeah.
Just like a Terminator psycho.
No, 100%. Yeah, I felt that.
Yeah.
So I guess you could.
In Game of Thrones, one of the later seasons where Arya is at the House of Faces.
Yeah.
And there's a mage there who's like kind of training her, but also bullying her.
Yeah.
And then when she's like trying to escape, run away, the mage is chasing her, and they have this big like final showdown. She feels just like the mage from that.
She does.
Season of Game of Thrones. It's like she's kind of one-dimensional and kind of like this like Terminator, like unstoppable force driven by evil or something.
It would honestly make more sense if she was just a robot. And who knows where this is going, but like this part right here, when she's talking to her, doesn't feel human. And I don't know if that's intentional or not. I don't think it is.
Yeah.
I think it's just because when they wrote this part, honestly, I don't know what they were thinking, but it's weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
Yeah.
But in the end, she tells her, you better take care of that countdown thing. You're going to want to end your work with nanofibers immediately, or else the countdown will finish and you don't want to see what happens.
You don't want to get to zero.
I feel like that's just a bluff. It's like, you don't want to get to zero because it's bad. She basically tells her, you need to respect the countdown. You're likely, you don't want the countdown.
Respect the countdown.
Yeah, respect the countdown, bitch. When that countdown gets to zero, bad things happen. Stop your work with nanofibers. And if you don't believe us, look at the sky at midnight and you'll see the universe wink at you, basically.
Yeah, that's what she says. Yeah.
Yeah. We go back to 1967, where Wenjie meets the dude who gives her the book.
Right.
Silent Spring.
Silent Spring, yeah.
Yeah, by Rachel Carson.
Yeah.
Rachel Carson's a famous naturalist, and her book Silent Spring kind of marks the beginning of the environmental movement. It's a really important book to the environmental movement. It was the first ever book that posited the idea that humans might destroy Earth. Like, it's a big deal.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And I think the idea that it's introduced here in the book is probably because it's a piece of quote unquote reactionary media.
Yeah, so it's banned literature in this revolutionary alternate China.
Right.
Yeah. And this guy who gives it to her is kind of a like-minded person who doesn't like seeing all these trees cut down.
Yeah.
And is worried about the impact we're having on the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, as much as I don't want to, in the book.
Yeah, in the book.
In the book.
Yeah.
This part with the tree was so cool in the book, where they had sawed it down right, obviously, and you see in the show that she's counting the rings.
Yeah.
And the guy says,
how old was it?
And then he says, oh, that was back in the Ming Dynasty or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm just like fuck. It's heavy in the book because he goes into a little bit more detail about the tree and the significance of it being this old and everything. And they just kind of glaze over it here. And I just kind of wish they, I don't know, deepened his character a little bit more, because I like the idea that he gives her Silent Spring, and it has the connection to, they just cut down this giant, really fucking old tree that maybe they shouldn't have, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe they shouldn't be doing all this lumber stuff. And I like that's obviously in his head. He's talking about how old the tree was, and it leads her to get, give him this not economist, environmentalist book. Yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
I didn't see that in the show at all.
Yeah. The other thing that doesn't really come across is that what they're actually doing is making like a buffer zone for this huge what do you call it,
the big satellite thing?
Yeah, the satellite thing is they call it a
radio telescope.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they want to clear the forest for a certain amount of miles around the radio telescope to make a security border, basically.
Do they say that in the
book?
I didn't get that at all.
Yeah, there's a reason they're actually here doing this stuff.
Right.
We don't really get to see that.
Yeah. She gets the
book. It's in English.
Oh,
she reads it. And then someone snitches, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
She comes back to her bunk and the book's gone.
Yeah.
And then the big brother shows up.
Right.
To basically arrest her.
Yeah. And they're kind of, I felt like they were kind of nice about it.
Sure, I guess they could have been worse.
Yeah, I felt like it was going to be.
But the point is, they're like, hey, we found this book, and you're the only person who speaks English, so we know it's you who read it. So, and it's banned book, it's propaganda.
Weird shot, by the way. I don't know. I want to know what your opinion is on this. They come to talk to her about that, right? And we know who gave her the book. He's standing right next to him, and the camera keeps looking at him. Yeah. What did you think about that moment? What did that say to you?
Well, I know what they were trying to say.
What was that?
Was that he gave her the book, and he's lying now, saying that he had nothing to do with it.
Right. But she's also not saying that he gave her the book.
Yep. So she's basically willing to take the blame.
Yeah. Now, is she taking the blame because she's in love with him, or just because she's a better person than him?
Yeah, I just think she doesn't want to throw him under the bus.
Okay.
I guess. I think she's the type of person who is not going to do that to another person and would hope that other people wouldn't do it to her. But he does.
It's interesting because the first time I saw this part, I thought that they were saying that he's a bad person because he's not saving her. That's the impression that I got.
Well, yeah. Kind of. I think they kind of are saying that. It's a lot more obvious in the book.
Oh, yeah.
In the book? Let's talk about the book.
In the book.
Yeah. Let me just talk about the book for a moment, okay? But it is relevant.
Okay.
Because Dan and Dave adapted from the book. So the book matters.
It doesn't.
It's okay.
It doesn't actually matter.
It does.
It doesn't matter.
Fuck you. In the book, when they come and challenge her, what she had done was actually write a letter to the Chinese government saying, you need to stop doing this.
Oh, she actually went that far.
Yeah, she wrote a letter saying, you got to stop cutting down trees and deforesting.
Yeah.
And here's all these excerpts from this book you should read. But she wrote it anonymously. Actually, no. I'm getting it a little wrong. Her friend wrote the letter.
Right.
Her friend came up with the letter. She wrote it for him. She was like the pen person.
I thought this was in the show.
It's not in the show. They don't do it in the show.
They don't? I have some cinematic memory then, because...
No, you just picture your books in cinematic form.
I swear I saw this in the show.
No, they really blow over.
No. Okay, they do. No,
this.
they do talk about it. It's way later, though, in a different episode with old Wenjie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think. Pretty sure. Anyway.
Well, so... supposedly the friend is like, I want to send this letter to the Chinese government and tell them to stop. And she's like, I can write and write well. So you tell me what to write and I write it. And so the letter's intercepted and they're like, this is your handwriting. But she knows it's from another guy.
Right.
And she says, no, someone else. I just wrote it for him. They're like, who?
Yeah.
And she's like, I won't tell you. So she's not willing to name names.
She won't throw him under
She won't
the bus.
throw him under the bus. And then they're like, where'd you get the book? Where'd it come from? Right in front of the guy.
Right.
And the guy's like, I'm not saying anything.
Right.
So,
Okay.
So he throws her under the bus.
Okay.
Even though she won't throw him under the bus.
That was the impression that I got then.
Yeah. And they were trying to say that with just camera angles without telling the actual story.
Right.
Which kind of worked.
It was fine. I felt like it was strange.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a whole lot of history on this dude. Mm-hmm. So I don't really understand why they're saying that he's a bad person, because I did feel like they were saying he's a bad person, but I'm not exactly sure why.
Once again, it's this weird thing of adapting a story.
Something
right?
Something way more that's happening maybe in the character's mind, whatever. And they, like you said, put it in 30 seconds or something.
Yeah, well, in the book, again, this section that takes place in 1960s China, is really, really important to the book. Right? It's like half of the book.
No, yeah, that's the setting of a lot of it, yeah.
Like half of the book takes place in 1960s Japan, then it jumps forward in time.
China.
I'm sorry. That was racist.
It's the same thing.
They're the same people. It's totally the same. What's the difference?
It's the same thing.
No difference. Oh my God.
Beijing, Japan.
We are derailed. Beijing, Japan. Fuck. Okay. Point is, in the book, the first whole half of the book takes place in 1960s China.
Right.
Right. In the movie, they're trying to make the character arcs and the emotional attachment all to things that take place in modern times.
Right. And they keep cutting back and forth because they're trying to do, I don't know exactly why they're doing it, but they're trying to, I guess, grow parallels between the two that are happening. I really don't understand why they're doing the time jumps, to be honest.
Well, it's a little more mainstream.
Yeah.
In terms of a style of filmmaking.
Is it just building more mystery? Is that what it is? Doing en medias res, where they're starting in the middle?
Well, I just think of if you had done a series where the first 4 episodes took place in 1960s China. China. And the following 4 episodes took place in 2024.
Right.
England, mostly.
Yeah. It would be a little jarring.
It'd be very jarring. It'd be hard to be attached to the characters. You'd become attached to the characters of the first half of the series.
Right.
And then have the rug pulled out of you.
That makes a lot of sense.
Which was a big challenge in House of the Dragon.
Oh, interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
House of the Dragon, I think, did a pretty good job of navigating those waters.
Yeah.
But it was dicey.
It was.
It was hard because I fell in love with the young characters.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And then they just like swap it out. We're like 20 years later, new actors for every character. And I'm like, shit. Who are these people? Okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's hard to pull off.
It is. Yeah.
I think House of Dragon did it pretty well, as they could have hoped to.
Yeah. I would have, if I were in charge of all this, I think I would have gone the whole 67 route, just having that part happening.
Just tell it straightforward in linear time.
Maybe not completely, but the idea that I would stick with it a lot more and then focus on Wenjie as the main character and then follow her into the future in 2024 or present or whatever. And then from there, get to the other characters and whatnot. I know they have different characters and whatnot, and they have different relationships, but Wenjie is, what was it? Vera is her daughter, and she's connected to everybody, so it makes sense that they're all connected. So I feel like they could have done that.
They could have.
I feel like it would have made more sense, but you're right. It is more contemporary.
Yeah. I think the filmmakers were thinking, we want the audience to be connected.
And immediate, too. Yeah.
To the characters we're going to stick with.
Yeah.
At least into season 2, we're going to keep using these same characters. Beyond that, it might change quite a bit. The 3-body series of books goes very far into the future. I mean, like Dune level into the future, like thousands of years.
10,000.
So we're definitely not hanging on to the same characters if they're going to show the whole story that's in the books.
Right.
But if you're counting on the audience being connected to this one set of characters, it doesn't make sense to hold them off till like episode 5.
Sure.
So
sure.
You do the thing that you really can't do in a book. Like that's just one of those genre differences, right? With editing in a movie, the idea of jumping timeline back and forth like
you
that.
You can, but I think it's a way,
Yeah, you can do it in a book, but it's not very typical.
It's not, it doesn't feel good, I don't think, to do in a book.
Yeah.
To keep jumping back and forth. And you're like, no, I want to be set in this world and continue. But I do feel like that should have been done more in this. I would have enjoyed it more, but I do understand the need for everybody to get connected with all these characters all at once.
Yeah.
And then continue the whole series that way. But like Lost, for example, is a show where you could get connected with different characters at different times and still be fine with it. But of course they didn't go into the future, but yeah. Anyway.
So Wenjie gets caught. She's busted.
She
gets arrested because she has this evil book.
Yeah.
She's already got to be under scrutiny because of who her dad was. And so she gets taken.
The believer in Einstein.
Yeah, what the fuck? What a crazy reactionary person. believing in the Big Bang.
Yeah, that's crazy.
My God.
That leaves room for God.
Yes, the Big Bang leaves room for God.
It does.
That is like a sentence you would not expect to hear at church. Just saying.
At church, you go there and just like, yeah, the Big Bang, everybody.
Big Bang. That's evidence for God. It's like, wait, what?
What comes before the Big Bang? God.
So she ends up in some kind of jail where she's being interrogated by people.
Right. I think this is our last in the book part that we're going to talk about.
Yeah. And
because it bothered both of us.
Yes. It's much more intense in the book.
Yeah.
You just say.
Just say that.
Yeah. Read the book. Read the book.
Just read the book.
See.
Just read the book.
But it's much more fucking intense in the book. It is,
yeah.
But she gets kind of tortured and pressured.
Yeah.
To say certain things. She's not willing to say them.
To sign certain things.
Yep.
Yeah.
And in the end, they basically say, okay, we can't get you to say the things we want. It's kind of a waste to kill you because you're really smart. So maybe you should go work for us forever.
Right.
And they decide to send her to the radio telescope station to work for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this sequence ends with her going into the radio's telescope
building
place.
Yeah.
And them telling her, hey, if you go in here, you're never leaving.
And she just immediately says yes.
And she's like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in.
I'm in.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. It's very clear that this character is done with the world.
Yeah.
Done with humanity.
Yeah.
Done with everything called reality.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is the most important thing that the author of the book was trying to say.
Yeah.
Is that the entire fate of humanity ends up being decided by someone who was just fucked over.
Who's a pessimist.
Right? Just
like almost
fucked over by humanity.
Just completely. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, you know what? I'm done.
Yeah.
Right? It's just the wrong person in the right place at the wrong time.
Dude, that's
feeling like they're fucked over and saying, you know what? Fuck everything.
Yeah.
And it ends up being the decision that decides the fate of all humanity.
That's awesome.
That is crazy.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I love the mentality first because I can't get down with that mentality. I don't like the idea that everyone says, fuck everyone, right? Fuck this, fuck that.
Sure.
I'm gonna kill myself type of thing.
Yeah.
So I love that someone would go against that and put it, like you said, into a pivotal role.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I don't like that either.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to feel that way.
Right.
But what if one person feels that way who happens to be in a position where it affects everyone forever?
Exactly, yeah.
You know?
It's like a fable, and I like that. I think that's really cool. That's pretty insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's ultimately what makes this a really special sci-fi piece of IP. Jin is in the home of the mother of Vera.
Is it Wenjie's home or is it Vera's home?
It is Wenjie's home, but we don't know if she's Wenjie yet.
Sorry. Old woman's.
We just know old woman who is probably Vera's mom. That's all we know.
Vera's mom's place. Yeah.
She's hanging out with Vera's mom. And
who just happens to have the same last name.
They're talking about what happened. Why did Vera kill herself? And then she's like, oh, she was playing this video game all the time.
That's what it is. Video games cause people to kill themselves.
You know what? That's the morality of this show. That's what it's all about. Yeah. Video games make you kill yourself and kill other people.
Wow.
All the time. Yeah. I mean, just watch Fortnite for like 5 minutes. What did people do? You walk around shooting people.
You don't shoot in Fortnite. You just build stuff.
You might be a banana. You might be a humanoid banana.
You might be DJ Marshmallow.
But you're still killing people. And by people, I mean other bananas and burgers and marshmallows. But you're still killing. You know what I mean? And that desensitizes you to violence.
Yeah,
it does. That leads to murder.
Yeah. That's what they're saying in this thing.
That's what this is all about.
That's what this whole thing was
all about. You know what? Fuck Quentin Tarantino. he is.
Speaking of Fortnite, fuck Quentin Tarantino.
He is the end of humanity. He's destroyed all of us. He taught us all to hate each other and murder and rape and kill.
Did he?
It's his fault.
Oh, did
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we digressed.
Did we?
I think we did.
Yeah. I guess Quentin Tarantino's not really a part of this.
Yeah. So anyway,
so Jin finds this headset.
she sees a headset.
Yeah.
And we get a cool shot that finally connects the pieces that this old woman is actually Wenjie from 1967.
Yep.
Yeah. So we now know that we're seeing the same woman who was Wenjie from the 60s.
Yeah. And so now we finally understand why this other part of the whole episode matters.
Why this is even happening.
Right.
Why are we watching this?
Why are we even watching this?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, Jin is connected to her. Mm-hmm. They know each other.
Yeah.
Right? So we know that. And this headset is handed off to Jin.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now we go back in time again to 67.
Do we? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, we do.
And this is when Wenjie is told a little bit more about what they do there.
Yeah. I love this. I love the whole mysterious nature of what they do with the radio telescope.
Yeah.
I think that's so cool. I just love that.
She points out that they're not using modulation
as a weapon.
And that therefore it can't be weapons.
Right.
And they're like, no, it's not weapons. It's communication.
No, they don't say that yet.
Yeah.
But they do. But I love the line where she says, "Are we testing missiles?" And the guy says,
"Everyone's got missiles."
Everyone's got missiles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good one-liners in this show.
Yeah.
There have been a lot, and that was one of them.
Yeah. That was. Yeah. They're good at D&D's good at making shows. I'm not so sure if they're good at adapting material so much, but they're really good at the introducing lots of characters, getting like conflicts between friends, delivering one-liners.
Yeah.
The show stuff. They're really good at that, I think.
I drink and I know things.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
There you go. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So they do a procedure with their radio telescope.
Yep.
It has a coordinate, and they do their blast of whatever they're doing. A bunch of birds fly out of the forest and get zapped to death by the radio waves.
Yeah.
I guess. They all fall down dead.
Yeah. This was weird. The first time I saw that, I was like, is this a weapon to kill animal life? Like, the way that they shot this was interesting because the big ass satellite dish turns and then it stops, but we never look at the satellite again. The camera goes to where it's pointing, which is space, but we don't see space. We just see this kind of the horizon. Yeah. And so when we see all the trees and everything, that's where the viewer's eyes go. And so they imagine, okay, so the killing birds then is what this is. Kind of, yes. I feel like that's what's happening here with the communication visually. Which is weird. They're like, we've been working for years to rid the forest of birds. They're like, it's not about missiles. It's about killing birds. It's about killing birds. Everyone's got missiles. But no one has no birds. I thought it was still a weapon at this point. Uh-huh. And maybe not for birds specifically, but I did think it was a weapon. Bird weapon. Yeah. And I'm sure that's probably meant to be kind of just a thing to make you go, oh, it's probably a weapon of some sort. Yeah. Yeah. I don't like that. I'm just saying that I don't like that. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. You're right. I don't like it. You're right. I don't like it either. I'm right that you don't like it? Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. That's cool. You know me well. Yeah, nice. Okay. The birds die. In the following scene, we cut to Jen popping a whole bunch of fucking pills. She pops one. Because she's a druggie. She pops one pill. I'm just saying it's a recurring theme. We don't know that yet. That's
you
in the
will
future.
you will know it in the future. Jen takes pills. She's a fucking drug addict. Okay, so she pops some pills. She puts on the helmet, and we get a little glimpse of the game, but not much.
Yeah. It says level 1, right? Yeah, and then immediately the big sun sets, and then there's a big wind, what we think is wind, and then the skeleton that she sees opens its eyes.
Creepy.
which is weird considering that we know what the game is later on, and this is just weird to have this as an intro.
I don't know. I finished the whole show, and I'm still a little nebulous on what the game actually is.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's
I can't wait to talk about that in the coming episodes.
Join us next time.
Yeah, come back if you like us.
No, come back if you
don't
like
us. Be a masochist. We're here to torture you.
Exactly.
You'll love it. All right. So that happens. We cut to our favorite cop, and he's talking about how this helmet thing has recurred amongst some of the people who have died, and they want to figure out what that's all about.
Yeah, he does the whole exposition dump to the other dude. Tells him what agencies are in charge, what they're looking for, scientists.
It's so handy to have another character who knows nothing
he doesn't know
about
anything.
what's going on.
Yeah.
That is the best tool when you're trying to tell a story.
Yeah.
Just saying, if you want to write a script, invent a character who knows nothing about what's going on, because then your character can tell them, and then the audience knows what's going on.
And there you go. Yeah.
It's great.
Exposition without really exposition.
It didn't bother me.
No, it's a cop with another cop.
It was
I feel
okay.
Like the same thing, yeah.
Yeah.
If it was like...
Sometimes that shit is really bothersome.
No, it is when it's not part of the character. But this one is a cop. I think it makes sense.
I agree.
Although the other character doesn't really make any sense. Because he's not there later on, right?
Well, he plays a bigger role later.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he actually is around a bit.
Okay.
But anyway.
Then we go to...
Hold on. Before we go anywhere...
we're not going anywhere.
We get my favorite line of this episode.
It's a shit time to be a scientist.
It's a shit time to be a scientist.
Yeah.
This is great.
That's a good line. Yeah.
And what is the name of the actor who plays the character?
I think it's Benedict Wong.
Benedict Wong.
Yeah.
Love that guy.
Yeah. He was great.
Love that guy.
In everything so far.
Like, he's cool in Marvel. In, fucking Doctor Strange stuff.
Yeah, it is Benedict Wong.
But if he's given the opportunity to actually be a dramatic performer, he's amazing.
Yeah.
He's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially in this episode, he's definitely the best person on the screen.
It's awesome because he's a detective. And I feel like I've seen, or not detective, but a cop, whatever. Yeah. He works for some crazy agency because he's been fired
at the beginning, they say he's Scotland Yard. But then he's clearly something deeper than that.
They say he's been fired by so many other agencies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he says that he fails upward. I thought that was fine. But the idea that he's just like this, just a guy who's just investigating stuff, it's just, I've seen so many cop shows and cop drama that so many of those characters are so boring to me. Yeah. And when they appear on screen, all they're doing is delivering exposition, and that's it. And smoking, right? Yeah. And that's why I said in the beginning we were talking about Jeffrey Wright, because he plays that character in The Batman. And is a just totally one-note, boring. And he's terrible. And that character is who I expected here. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that Benedict Wong is not. They even could have gotten away with it. Yeah. They could have had a Jeffrey Wright from the Batman level of performance in this role. Yeah. And it wouldn't have hurt the show that much. Right. But it's just because it's him and his acting chops. It elevates it. Yes. Yeah. Big time. Yeah. Big time. Because I actually believe him when he says it's a shit time to be a scientist. And this is why I come back to, I really question Dan and Dave. Yeah. I really do. Like, I just don't know if I think they're brilliant. They're making mistakes. Or the opposite of brilliant, whatever you want to call that. Yeah. Because, like, they will cast brilliant actors in certain roles. Yeah. And then seemingly not even care about who they cast in other roles. Yeah. It's weird. Yeah. I was just as surprised as I'm sure you were when Benedict Wong came out as the guy here.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh shit, it's a big name dude who's not a Game of Thrones character that I know of. Mm-hmm. And yet all the main people are just no names that at least I don't know any of them.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah. And it's not about them being a name either.
Yeah.
You know, it's just some of these people just really know how to carry a scene.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we were talking about Jen not too long ago. She's great.
She's fantastic. The scenes between Will and Jack.
Yeah, really good.
Were so good.
Yeah.
You know?
And then, but my least favorite character, not just Auggie. Augie's one of them, but who's well, we haven't got to him yet, but the other dude, his boss.
The Onion Knight?
Yeah, the Onion Knight.
Sir Davos?
What's his name?
His name's Davos.
No, it's not. What's his
from
name?
Game of Thrones.
Yeah, what's his name, though?
They call him fucking... I don't remember.
Anyway. Yeah.
It'll matter in next episode.
We'll talk about him more because I don't really like him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is... yeah. Yeah, it's weird.
It's weird.
The show is very like kind of all over the place. Like it's weird to see a show that is so proficient and just dialed in some aspects and not in others.
Exactly.
That's what's weird about this show.
Exactly. Yeah. When I watched this, there was so many times that I felt like, oh man, I hope so many people watch this because this is so dope. And then I'm like, actually, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so I'm still hoping for more seasons to be made of the show. I'm probably going to edit this out because the entire show at this point, that now that we've watched the whole thing, feels mid.
Yeah.
And I want it to be better.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
And yet I was given enough to be totally psyched for the next season.
Which is why I'm hoping that other people love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just weird. Anyway.
It is weird. I don't know what to think about Dan and Dave, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
They confuse me.
They're Ryan Johnson. That's what they are. Actually,
Whoa.
Ryan Johnson's better than them.
Depends on the situation.
Is Star Wars involved?
Yeah.
Because then that's different.
All right. Anyway. I guess now we go to Auggie and Saul are hanging out.
I love that scene.
So basically Augie's like, Saul, come be with me because I need to be outside at midnight to see if something happens. And Saul's like, okay, you're fucking crazy, but sure.
No, he's definitely taking it as like we're gonna.
You want to fuck, don't you?
We're gonna fuck.
Yeah. And she's like, it's not what you think. And he's like, okay, sure. Yeah. So anyway, the banter between them is really good.
The dialogue, yeah.
It's hard to call this a sequence in itself because it's so intercut.
This one's
with the
super cut up
1960s stuff.
Yeah, and I really don't know what they're trying to do here because if I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit, but the thing that they're looking at in the sky, we already know that's not of Earth.
Yeah, I know.
Is it not that obvious?
When I rewatched episode 1,
yeah,
I was actually a little surprised because my mind had done something to the episodes that wasn't true.
How's that?
Well, I thought something very pivotal from episode 2 actually happened in this sequence.
Oh,
but it did not.
But it didn't. That's funny.
There's a big thing that we'll talk about in our next episode.
Yeah.
That I thought happened in conjunction with the wink from the universe.
Right.
Which would have melded together really well.
It really would have, but they didn't do that.
But it didn't.
That's interesting.
So the thing they were cutting back and forth to was basically Wenjie learning that we're trying to communicate with aliens.
Right.
That's basically it.
That's all it is, yeah.
You know, she's basically figuring out, we're trying to talk to aliens.
Yeah, but like that's the revelation.
Yeah.
Like they build that up so much through this intercut stuff all the way to the end. The last 5 seconds of the show, or of the episode is way more interesting than the previous like 10 minutes or 5 minutes that they cut in between both Wenjie and this current thing.
Yeah.
Because we already know what's happening, right? We already know that, okay, you're going to look up in the stars, something's going to happen, you're going to see something. Obviously, if it's in the sky, it's got to be something probably extraterrestrial. And we already know that the radio telescope is being used for something, probably space.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like this revelation is not necessary.
Right. And we know pretty quickly when it starts happening that it's beyond Auggie.
Right.
Right. Auggie sees the countdown by herself.
Yeah.
But you know within seconds that this flicker in the sky is being seen by everyone.
Which I thought would have been way more interesting if it just happened to her. Because the fact that everyone sees it it's certainly fucking weird, right? That's a weird thing to happen to everybody. But it's purely illusionary if it happens just to her. Mm-hmm. And it suggests something. Anyway, I guess the point is that I wanted more depth out of the scene, and there wasn't any.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
Did you feel like it was a little bit of a flat end to the first episode?
Yeah, which is why I said the last 5 seconds where they're synchronizing the numbers is way more interesting.
Yeah. He pulls out the serial decoder pen thing.
Right.
Which you pointed it out. I loved that sequence leading up to that where he talks about the cereal and like what a stupid name it is. And,
he's like, I could come up with a better name. And he's like talking about the whole thing. He's completely serious about it.
He's literally talking like someone who's high.
Right.
And doesn't care about what's going on around him in actuality, and which is perfect.
Yeah. No, moments of brilliance. That's what I'm saying. That little moment was good.
Yeah. That's a brilliant moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was the first of, spoiler alert, what I think we will see a handful of times where something really cool was kind of spoiled, wasted.
Wasted. Yeah.
Yeah. They could have done this a little better. They could have had a more potent ending to the episode. I wouldn't say the episode ended with me going, "Oh my God, I can't wait to see season 2." Or episode 2, you know?
Yeah. Well, maybe the rest of season 1. I can't wait to see the rest of this.
Yeah. It didn't quite get there.
Well, so actually to me it did, but to me it was because I felt like I had a problem here, and that was the flatness of that scene of the stars blinking. I was like, oh, weird. But that was it. And I'm like, okay, it's probably means something. And then so when they said, okay, it's numbers, and he started reading the thing, and then it stops, I felt like there was an incomplete thought there. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to watch number 2. And it wasn't because it was like I had to.
Right.
It was because like it was like an incomplete thought is what was happening.
But you felt like this, that the filmmakers were trying to put this as like a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
They're like, oh my God, what's next? Right. I need the answers and all that. And that's what I think kind of failed to come across.
No, yeah. It didn't feel like a oh my God moment.
Yeah.
Which is weird because blinking stars it's an oh my God moment.
It's a pretty big deal.
It's pretty big.
Pretty fucking big deal.
Yeah. And it didn't.
Also, the sky looking the way it did.
Yeah.
They do this thing where Saul kind of goes like, oh,
brighter.
The stars are really bright tonight.
Right.
And she's like, oh, you're so high.
Right.
You know? But when they actually show us the sky, it is ridiculous. Like that's like a sky you can only see from like the North Pole.
100%. Yeah. And Auggie, when she was just like, whatever, that's where what I thought. I was like, Auggie, are you looking at the sky?
Yeah.
It's weird. But also when she said Saul, look, they were getting brighter also. Like they like everything was gaining brightness, and then it started blinking.
Yeah.
Which I thought was also strange. I just thought the choice to reveal certain things at certain times was weird. I don't feel like that was the point of this, you know? I don't know.
Yeah. I think what we're going to see with this series is Dan and Dave, who are great at adapting things, became famous for adapting Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And I believe Game of Thrones is written in such a way to where adapting it is really easy.
It's it's like a cinematic.
It's
kind
like
of thing.
made to be adapted.
Yeah.
It is written cinematically.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is not.
This is not.
This is not at all.
This is not. Yeah. So just like resting on the laurels of the idea that they're good at adapting things,
Right.
might not be exactly what we think it is.
That's really
with this
interesting.
Crazy book.
Yeah, that's really interesting to think about. To think that the material itself was written kind of for the screen, like Game of Thrones, and not this one.
Yeah. I mean, some people write in a way that's intrinsically visual.
Sure. And I got some of that from the book, or at least from the beginning, from Three Body Problem, but definitely not like when they're talking about, the mind of the character and what they're talking about, reactionary stuff and the silent spring and the importance of the book. It's all very heady. It's very academic.
Yeah, it's what you experience when you're sitting alone by a river thinking alone for a long time.
Yeah, it makes me think of, do you know the House of Leaves?
I'm not familiar.
Okay, well, it's way too much to get into, but yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of my guess. I think, I don't know. I don't want to be a fucking hater on these guys.
No, but
they've made some of my favorite things to ever be made.
Right. No,
and at the same time, I'm like, I don't know how good they are, honestly. I don't know.
Yeah, this is a good thing. I like that we're having this discussion because that's what both of us were so hyped for Three Body Problem precisely because Dan and Dave were behind it. And we're just like, oh shit, because the guys that made this other thing that looked unmakeable and they did it, they're going to take on this other thing. So yeah, really excited. But the idea that we're discovering some of the stuff that they've done seems to be that they're not good at getting the material and turning it into an on-screen thing, but rather getting the material that is good and putting it on screen. You know what I mean? Not the translation process.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They can't change it.
Right.
It's the stuff that doesn't need changing.
That is the good part.
That they can turn into something
they're good,
amazing.
They're good producers.
I think that's it. I think they're producers more than writers.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah. Not good writers.
Yeah.
But interesting. Yeah, they're not even, I wouldn't say they're not strong directors either. But still there's moments in here that are really nice. But the most that I take away from it is that it's kind of mid. That's what I feel. Yeah.
After just the first episode, I'd say I'm definitely like invested in finishing the series, but I'm not over the moon.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. When I told my friends to watch Three Body Problem, it was mostly because I'm selfish and I want to see more of the series because I'm really interested in the material. But two, I had an issue trying to recommend the series to people because while other series like Severance, I can be like, everybody should watch Severance, right? You're going to love it because blah, blah, blah. I can just visualize it right now, what you're going to experience. Or Game of Thrones. I think of Three Body Problem. I'm thinking, yeah, you're probably not going to care that much when you watch this, at least the first episode. So,
yeah. Just in conclusion, I guess, of our first episode of Deep Dish Three Body Problem Season 1 edition.
Oh my God.
What else would we want to add?
We're going to watch the second one. That's what we're going to do.
We're going to add episode 2.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll add this much. This is as far as I got in the book. So
yeah,
I don't know.
That's about true with me too.
Yeah,
I didn't get much further than this. So the rest of the season is stuff that I have no book reference for.
Right.
Which is kind of good. I felt like
it is better.
Yeah, it was kind of nice to not have a comparison.
Right.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah.
If there's a show that you think we should cover, you just let us know.
Actually, I am interested in that.
I would love to hear that.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do next.
That I'm watching. So I've already watched Severance. I talked about how amazing Severance is, but Shogun I'm watching, and Constellation I'm watching. Constellation's kind of, but it's interesting. So yeah. I'm
also interested in kind of going back into some older shows as well.
Yeah.
I'm totally open to I never covered Breaking Bad. Just saying.
You never watched Breaking Bad?
No, I never covered Breaking Bad on a fucking podcast.
Oh shit! Yeah,
you know how fun it would be to talk about Breaking Bad.
That'd be insane
on a podcast.
That'd be insane.
Or Westworld.
Westworld, I need to go back for.
No, Westworld would be fun to talk about because it is all over the place.
That's Mr.
And in fact,
John Nolan.
So far, Three Body Problem. If I compare it to anything, it feels the most like Westworld.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I would say that too. And it has our favorite guy in it, Jeffrey Wright.
yes. Actually, he's amazing in Westworld. Yeah, that's one of his best.
That's one thing roles. One of the things I wanted to correct was that Jeffrey Wright is an amazing actor. In that.
Oh, you don't like that we shitted on Jeffrey Wright earlier?
I just felt weird.
No, you're right. You're 100% correct. Jeffrey Wright's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
He's a great actor.
Yeah, but he sucks in the Batman.
Yeah, in the Batman, he's given the dumbest one-dimensional role ever.
He's given a good role, but the characterization of that guy, I forgot his name, Commissioner Gordon. Yeah, terrible.
He walks around going, "Is that a bomb? Oh my God.
Is that a phone?
What is that?
Is that a puzzle?
Is that toast?
Can I eat that?
Is that a salad?
Are you hungry? Are you gonna finish that? Have you seen Three Body Problem?
Have you seen Three Body Problem? Yeah, okay. No, I love Jeffrey Wright.
Yeah.
My favorite role by him is on Lady in the Water.
Hunger Games.
Lady in the Water.
Oh. Lady in the Water?
Yeah, M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah. Is he one of the tenants in there?
Yeah, he is.
No shit.
Yeah, he's one of the, M. Night Shyamalan's most like famously horrible movie.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Wright
Avatar,
is a big character in that.
That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. You hardly recognize him, honestly.
He's great
He's really young.
In another movie.
Uh-huh.
American Fiction. He's great.
Oh, is he? I haven't seen that. This has been the inaugural episode of Deep Dish, where Kenny and Dee talk about a series that streams online.
Hopefully, this is on YouTube and Spotify and a bunch of other podcast purveyors.
And hopefully, it was good.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
That's blinking.
Fuck. All right. Well, we should finish up. Anyway. Thanks for watching. Check us out wherever podcasts are shown.
Yeah.
And if you like this, find the talkies and everything else we do.
Yeah. Do all that sub and follow shit.
Sub, follow, smash the like button, and fuck off.
Smash the like button, fuck off. Okay. That's a good ender.
Hey, we're back to do our pizza rating for episode 1. This is going to be a little weird because we've never done a pizza rating that was not connected to the show we had just recorded.
Right. When we recorded this episode, we said that we were going to do. I cut this out, by the way. We said in the episode that we were going to do a whole pizza rating at the end, and that was it.
Uh-huh.
But we've since decided to do pizza slice ratings.
Yes.
For each episode.
Yes.
So this is our addendum.
Yes. I think we went like 3 episodes before we started doing our pizza slices.
Something like that.
Yeah. So looking ahead, dear viewers, you will be able to see us giving our pizza ratings as parts of the episode. But for the first couple of episodes, they're done after the fact. My pizza slice would be a nice fresh baked oven from a pizzeria pizza.
Yeah.
And it pretty much all looks good, except there are like 2, maybe you got like a combo pizza that has lots of toppings, you know, except there are 2 toppings on there that you don't actually recognize. You aren't really sure what they are.
You don't even know what they are.
Yeah. And you're like, whoa, that might be good. You can't quite tell if that's like a really well sauteed vegetable or a piece of tender meat. So I don't know. I can't say just by looking at the slice that it's going to be great, but there's certainly some good pizza there too.
All right.
There you go.
Very nice. Mine is, you kind of took what I was going to say. Mine is similar. This is a pizza slice where you eat it, and there's just this. It's like really good. I want to say it's like this crispy pepperoni kind of pizza. It's just pepperoni and cheese. It's nothing huge. Just pepperoni and cheese. A little spicy, a little greasy, hits the spot, right? But you go to eat it, and you're eating it, and you're enjoying it. But every now and then, there's like, is that like bread's fine, right? It's not. There's no mold on this, right? But you have that. I don't know what that is. And then so you keep eating it. It's good. Okay, never mind. It must have been a fluke. And then I don't know what that is. And just keep going into that.
Why do you keep eating?
But you keep eating the pizza because the good part is really good. But the bad parts.
That sounds like something I've actually done before.
It's a realistic pizza review right here.
Yeah.
Or a slice review, sorry.
Yeah. Because if it still tastes good, it's a guy thing. Guys are like, they're like, yeah, but it tastes good.
But it tastes good.
I know. I think it might have gone off, but
it's fine.
It still tastes good.
Just eat around it.
I'm so hungry.
Right. I've definitely had that before.
Well, there it is, folks.
Hey.
Pizza slice for episode 1 of 3 Body Problem.
There you go.